can you show us how the pumps works also?
Show you how pumping. You want me to show you how pumping works in general?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yeah. Show me how. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Lucy, committed to keeping Leo's research and memory alive while educating and helping others live healthier, happier life. Today, we have a very special guest, Chris, the owner of LA Pump, a company that has made significant contribution in the field of sexual health. Chris collaborated with Leo, and Leo was one of LA Pump's affiliates. Many of you might remember Leo's informative video on how to use pumps and methods to enhance penile size. These were in part influenced by his association with LA Pump and Chris's. As we embark on these discussions, I want to emphasize the seriousness of the subject we are addressing today. Concerns about your penile size and performance are issues that weigh heavily on many men. Despite studies showing that penile size isn't decreasing, the fact remains that many men suffer from erectile dysfunction or other related complexes. It's a topic that I receive at least one or two messages about each week, with questions directed to Leo on pumping and sexual health. This is precisely why I invited Chris to join us today. While I done my share of research, Chris's expertise and experience in this area far surpasses mine and is the best person to address these questions. Before we proceed, I think it's crucial to address societal misconceptions. There's a tendency, perhaps influenced by social media and certain TV shows, to overemphasize penile size and male performance. However, I strongly believe that most women, and I'm talking about real mature women, are not as focused on size as many might think. What truly matters in a healthy sexual relationship is care, sensuality, playfulness, openness to explore sexuality without shame, and a genuine connection. Preliminary and emotional intimacy often hold far more significance than physical attributes. So let's keep this perspective in mind as we talk to Chris about the practical aspect of penis pumping and how it fits into a broader context of sexual health and wellness. Today we have with us Chris, which he's the owner of LA Pump. And the reason why I asked him if I could interview him is because despite everything, people have been sending me at least one or two questions per week since Leo released the video on pumping. So who better to answer all those questions than Chris right here? I want to mention, I'll do a little bit of an intro before this video that I'll record separately, but Chris has been, no joke, one of the kindest, most ethical partner Leo has worked with. And I mean, it was incredible. When everything happened with Leo, he sent me an email, always checked. I mean, you're a very ethical and kind person. And I know you had conversation with Leo, and he mentioned that to me quite often. So that's one thing, is like, Leo was very kind, very keen on working with partners that were ethical. And he was contacted by many other companies, but he really, he started by promoting your product because he believed in the higher quality of what you offered, and then realized how good of a person you were. So I'm very happy you agreed to come on today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But let's start with a little bit of your journey and about you. Tell us more bit about who you are and how did you start a pumping business?
I get into penis pumping and manufacturing them, and I didn't. First, thank you for doing this interview. Thank you for doing this. Keeping Leo's product pages up, all that. He was a great guy, and I miss him. And I'm glad we're doing this. Mm-hmm. How I got started on this journey, in all honesty, it was a fluke. How I got into the sexual wellness industry to begin with. I was going to school, college, or my early 20s. I was a DJ before this, believe it or not.
Really?
DJ, signed to a record label and everything. I was in a band. We toured the world. We were on Jay Leno. We played at the Rose Bowl. I mean, it was like a full-fledged band thing. It was awesome. But we got dropped from the label. Record sales weren't strong or whatever, and that was it. So here I am, 20-year-old. No money, really nothing to do. I was like, what am I going to do with myself? So I wanted to go back to school and get a business degree. I thought I want to do something with business. What I always told myself is I wanted to be my own boss. I didn't know doing what, but I always wanted to run my own business. I always felt like the freedom of doing that and the drive of working hard at your own sales, making sure your business keeps going. That seemed fun to me. Mm-hmm. Well, I went to school. Figured I needed to get like a little regular job, found this job at a company called The Stockroom, stockroom.com. And they're a reseller of sex toys, primarily like bondage toys and leather stuff like that, So
Okay.
when I got interviewed, they were like, "You sure you can handle this kind of work?" I'm like, "Well, it's shipping." I was in the shipping department, and it seemed fun to me. I never knew about dildos or anything like that, or bondage toys, leather equipment, anything like that. But it seemed fun, and I was like, "Look, I'm going to go to school. This is going to be fun." So I take the job. Sure enough, I'm packing dildos on day one, just putting dildos in boxes. I'm packing penis pumps. Stockroom sold LA Pump products. Worked my way up in the company. I loved what I did. It was a lot of fun. It was a small business that had a lot of growth potential to it. Worked my way up, showed them my drive, my ambition, got up to customer service. Then I started answering phones, and listening to what people like and what they're into and stuff like that. Again, ambitious, driven. I wanted to keep going up in the company. I loved it. There was a lot of fun. The purchasing manager one day was like, "Hey, do you have time to help me out? Do some data entry work?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So she comes back with like an inch of paper. She's like, "Here, do all this," So I basically became her assistant. And she resigned a few months after that. The owner of the company, Joel Tucker, asked me if, I wanted to give it a shot at being a purchasing manager. And I was honored, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is a big deal." I mean, this spending millions of dollars on sex toys, buying, negotiating, all that. It was a big deal to me. It wasn't just like I'm just buying sex toys. It was something important to me. So I took it on, and that's where I met Charles, my business partner. I'm not just full owner of LA Pump. I have a co-owner. He's older. He's in his 80s. Doesn't do much, but he started this company. He designed the cylinder. Met him. He became like a mentor to me. I didn't grow up with a dad. And one thing I learned growing up, older men who take you on and want to help you and teach you things. I had a lot of uncles that were there for me and things like that. And Charles was like that in my early adult life. He became like a mentor, a great friend, always gave me great advice. We always chatted here and there, and 2 years now I'm at Stockroom, their buyer, doing my thing. He one day tells me, "Chris, I'm tired of doing this. I created LA Pump for fun. In all honesty, I didn't think it would take off and become such a great company." He's like, "But I'm older. I don't really even need to do this financially." He was saying, "I don't know what to do." And jokingly, I was like, "Well, when you're really done and ready, give me a piece of the company. I'll come run it for you." And we both laughed. We're like, "Aha, yeah, right, sure." But I put it out there. I put the little seed out there. Just, who knows, right? Sure enough, a year later, he had a real bad health scare. Contacted me, asked me if I was serious about that conversation, said absolutely not. I was joking, but if you're serious, I'd love to check it out and see what it was. So came over here to LA Pump, looked at the office, looked at the books. We're profitable. It's a small business, definitely. We make our products here in Southern California. I import the pumps, but 90% of everything else on our site, we make here ourselves with pride. And I really love that about the company. Again, we didn't make a lot of money, and he's like, "It's not a big money maker, Chris, but you'll be secure, you'll be happy, you'll have your own business, you can come and go as you please." And we wrote up a contract. It was a 2-year deal to see if I could handle it. This was like a sweat equity deal, right? It's been 14 years now. And here I am co-owning it, and I love every minute of it. I'm not going to lie to you, Lucy, regarding pumping and doing this. You said earlier I'm an ethical person. I am. I really feel like I am. And one of my big questions to him, because I didn't pump before. I sold them. I bought them from him. I sold them at Stockroom. I wasn't a pumper. I tried some products, but I really didn't try this one yet. And I said, "Charles, I'm going to ask you, be honest with me and be straight up with me. Does this stuff really work?" He's like, "Absolutely, it does." He's like, "The only real way for you to know is for you to start pumping yourself, or you hear feedback from our customers throughout the years as you're here, but you're going to hear it. And if you do it yourself, you're going to know." So I took his word for it. I did start pumping. I've been pumping myself for over a decade. It works. With that said, yeah. And sure enough, with all the customer testimonials, over the years, it works. And I wouldn't be able to do this if it didn't. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I was just robbing men all day, taking their money. No, like, it's not the type of person I am. So yeah, many years now doing this. Again, We've grown quite a bit since I started, probably 3 or 4 times. It's been significant growth over the years. Hard to manage sometimes. We're still in a house. Bleeding out of the bedrooms with cylinders everywhere and material everywhere, but we can manage it. And again, for me, the personal connection, with the customer really brings a lot of value to my brand and me personally. And I love that. And I hope I stay small and I can continue to bring that kind of quality service and product. I'm not into this to make millions of dollars. I know people say that's the American dream. It's something I spoke to Laith about, actually. And I was like, you know what? It's not for me. And that's when he's like, I love you, Chris. And I was like, it's not about becoming a millionaire. It's about, being financially independent, sure, but being happy with what you do and going to sleep at night knowing you're doing a good thing. Am I saving the world? No. Am I making the world a better place? Yeah, I think I am, for couples, for men. I think I am, and that makes me sleep well at night.
Well, I can attest to that in multiple ways. The first one is that the amount of comments we got on those videos, I didn't even realize it was such a big problem until those videos blew up. Like, I was very surprised, like, truly. And the other thing is, I want to mention that is the one of conversation we had, you and I, about the fact that you're not working with any person that basically comes to you, be like, hey, I want to promote your product. Like, you're very ethical in the way you work with people, and you attest it also in your life and your business. Like, you have hired people in difficulties finding jobs, and you can talk about this because I found it absolutely amazing. I have a friend, she's her brother has Down syndrome, and some business like hired him, and I found it like absolutely amazing that you give chances to people that don't have necessarily the chances to get a job. Can you mention a bit more about that journey?
Yeah. Absolutely. As a small business, we don't have a lot of staff, obviously. As we grew, I needed some people, and you try to look for people who are honest and trustworthy and all that. And it was hard to find that. In all honesty, I tried a few people, outsiders, so to speak, and it just didn't work out. And I had a family member, a cousin of mine. He's autistic. He's sharp, high functioning. He's got some social issues and things like that. And the kid's a go-getter, like just, always looking for work. He was always applying everywhere, fast food places and just everywhere he could. He was always applying. And he's like, I just can't get a job, Chris. Nobody wants me. I don't know why, and it just came to me. I was like, Jesus, why doesn't he work here with me? And I talked to Charles, my business partner. I was like, I'm going to hire my cousin. I think this is a perfect fit. It's family. He deserves the opportunity. I think he'll thrive. He's been here 8 years with me now, and I wouldn't be here without him. Like, I tell him every day, he's getting a big bonus for Christmas this year. Like, I take care of him. I mean, he's family, one. And he's amazing at what he does. He's so careful and thoughtful, and with cylinder sizes, like, he'll see an order with a large diameter and be like, Chris, I think we need to contact the customer because I don't know if he really wants that diameter. He's thoughtful and careful, and absolutely, it means a lot to me. And the fact that he probably wouldn't have been able to find work outside because people are judgy,
Yeah.
And it sucks. But yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. And again, he's not going anywhere. I just told him that recently too. I was like, as long as you want a job, you're going to be here. As long as I'm running this thing, you're going to be here. I'm going to be an old man. You're going to be in this office one day talking to people and answering calls. And he's like, I don't know, Chris, so no, he's going to be here with me forever. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that. I actually also secondarily hired a friend recently. She was having some problems finding work, and she's like, I need to just find something temporary. And I was like, I can hook you up. She's like, it's only going to be like 3 months that I need it. I don't want to put it a burden on you to find somebody else after. I was like, it's okay. Do I need you fully? Not really. And that's why I'm here to do you the favor. I mean, so I hired her for a few months, helped her out, and she's not with us anymore. But I try to help people where I can, definitely.
Well, I can attest to that. And thank you, Chris, again, for everything you've been doing. You're really a kind-hearted person. But let's get into really the details of pumping now.
Pumping.
That's what people want to hear about. So can you tell us a bit more about the physiological changes that occur during, after pumping, both in terms of immediate and also over time. So we get a better idea of how pumping works.
Well, the physiological changes, you're pulling air out of a cylinder, creating negative pressure, stretching the tissues. I think the term was angiogenesis that Lace referred to. When it comes to technical things and chemical things going on down there and body parts and anatomy, I'm going to ask you to refer to Lace's other videos because he was the master and he knew what he was talking about. But yeah, it's a very simple process. You're stretching the tissues, you're breaking up fibers over time. The temporary gains are immediate and apparent. I mean, always, right away, you see them. The long-term gains, they take long. Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line. And I think that's been the hardest issue with my niche and genre in general. Guys want this to work fast, and
Nothing works fast.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And you listening and watching this right now, you're probably a bodybuilder, right? Because you're coming from this page and you're into supplements, things like that. You work out your body. Is that quick? Nope. That's not quick either. When you're working on your body and muscle fibers and things like that and creating changes with your body, it takes a while. It takes dedication. It takes effort. Genetics plays a role too, I think. Physiology you mentioned. I think that plays a very large role, mainly with routines and gains. Some guys stretch a lot faster than others and get faster permanent gains than others. Some guys, it takes a while to see something. On a personal note, it took me a long time to start seeing permanent results. I don't want to get too TMI with you, Lucy. Sorry, I'm going to talk about my penis a little bit right now. My tissue's very tight. When I first pumped it, I didn't see big edema, the big engorgement, fluffy, pumped up penis. It wasn't like that. It engorged for sure, and I saw some thickness, but it wasn't like, I see some pictures and videos of some guys really plumped up penises after they pump, and I just didn't feel that effect. So it took a little while longer for me. So yeah, there's short-term quick gains that you can see right away. But the long-term ones do take a while. I minimum for like once you start seeing good permanent gains, 6 to 9 months, I would say.
Okay.
Persistent.
And did you see a difference, or did you try the difference between air pumping and water pumping? So I think that's where your opinion differ with Laith. Is that he was big on the water pumping part.
Yes.
But water pumping is extremely messy and not easy to do. And I know that's one of the issues most of people have. They were like, he was explaining it well, but they're like, how exactly does this work?
Yeah.
And additionally, I know for a fact, I lived with him, that he was he used water pumping, but it was easier for him to use regular air pump. So give us the rundown between the differences between those two.
The benefits are debatable. Does it feel better? Absolutely. Of course. You put some warm water in a cylinder, it does feel better. I don't know the science behind how it works with the tissues. I think Lathrop alluded to that in his videos and was talking about what's actually happening with the water hitting the skin and all that. I do think there are some benefits there. I do. I really do. I water pumped for about 6 months. I tried it. Felt great. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I saw extra gains doing it. I didn't really track them really, really religiously. I'm not going to lie either, but I didn't see big numbers. I did put marker on my cylinder because I don't have markers on my cylinder. So I'd mark it with literally a Sharpie. I have all these lines on my old cylinders. It's hilarious. But I marked it, so I would see if it was a big jump, I'd be able to tell like, whoa, hello, from the other line, but I didn't see that. And yeah, for me, honestly, the cleanup, and there was a few accidents, jump out of bed and the water's everywhere. I got to pull out the sheets real quick. And for me, it was that. And so it really is a preference. And the other problem too with my pump, you can't get water into it. Not the pump, the cylinder, sure. But if you get any water into that pump, it breaks it. It screws up the gauge mechanism and then it voids the warranty. And I could tell if you got water in it. So don't try to sneak the return and be like, no. So, that's the other issue too. There are things called water traps that you can purchase and you splice the hose and you put it in between. And they're good for the most part, but I just don't see the huge benefit of it. And when, Leif made the video and he's like, yeah, do water pumping, guys. I'm like, what are you saying? Why did you say that? But again, he knows what he's talking about. And if he liked it too, it's all good. It's debatable. The other issue too, though, that it was in the video he made, he told, I think I think he told guys to literally just buy a cylinder, a coupler, and some hose, and to pull the air out with their mouths. He's like, just pull the air out like that. You'll get a good seal and this and that. And does it work? Sure. Do you need a pump? Yes, you do. He's like, you don't need a pump. You don't need a device. I think he said it like that. He was fleetingly like, you don't need a pump. You do need a pump. You need to monitor your pressure. That's vital.
Is it prevents blister if you don't use water? Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, speaking of water and blistering, yeah, I do believe that too. I've heard a lot of testimonials about that. I do believe that does happen. I never got blisters to begin with, just because I've always kept the pressure levels really low.
Okay.
Too low to begin with, and that's why it took me 10 years to see some really good gains. I don't know. But I've always been very careful, and I never wanted to overdo it with my penis. I mean, that's my one penis. Like, I don't want to wake him. I don't want to do anything bad to him. That's what I tell guys all the time, too. Take it easy with that guy down there. We love him. We want to take care of him. We want him to grow, sure. But we want to do it right. But yeah, no edema, blistering, little burst capillaries, red dots on the coloration. All that stuff comes from over pumping. But that's what it comes from. It comes from over pressurization. It comes from too much time in the cylinder, and you just don't need to do those things for good enlargement, for good gains. You don't need to do that. Guys just feel like they do. I'm going to tell you a quick little story, anecdotal story about that, and guys thinking they need to pump hard. I was at a trade show once years ago, and the guy comes to my booth, and I knew him personally. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, Chris? I'm like, good to see you." And he's like, "Hey, I bought your product at a store, and I tried it out, and my penis turned like black and blue, bro." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it got super bruised." And I'm like, "Okay." And I had to pump out, and I was like, I asked him, I was like, "Show me on the gauge what you went up to, right?" And he points to, so the gauge goes all the way to 30 inches. Okay. He points to 30. We recommend like 4 to 6 inches in mercury. He went to 30, okay? And this guy's a bodybuilder. He was cut. He was big. He was a big cut guy.
So he won't gain fast.
Lifts, and I asked him, I go, "Why'd you get to that number?" He's like, "Well, when I started feeling pain, I'm like, okay, it's working now." And I just kept going harder and harder. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "Were there instructions in the package?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Did you read them?" And he's like, "No, I mean, you put the cylinder on and you just start pumping. What do I need to read?" And then I smacked him on the head. And I go, "Come on, brother. Like, what are you doing?" And then I told him what this is. He's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Look, you're going to be fine. Don't use it for a few weeks. Let the bruising go away." And he was. I called him a few weeks later. I was like, "You good? Your penis good? We good?" He's like, "Yeah, everything's fine. I feel like an idiot." I was like, "You should. Read the instructions. It's your dick. It's your penis. You know what I mean? You got to be careful with it." So guys get excited, is my point. And some guys think pain equals gains. No, it's a little, I like to say, in bodybuilding, they say no pain, no gain. Yeah. In pumping, it's pain, no gain. You don't want pain. So, as long as you keep the pressure levels low, the timing good, you'll be okay.
Okay. So you mentioned a lot about timing, being careful. For people that experience erectile dysfunctions, what would be the ideal protocol to help them solve this? We know that pumping helps, but like, when can they start seeing results? Like, how often should they do? Should they do something in particular? Can you get into the subject?
Erectile dysfunction is a different beast. Because erectile dysfunction is an actual issue with your penis. You can't get an erection. You can't get blood flow properly in there. So a lot of guys that pump for ED are really pumping to use it, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? They're getting it erect because they want to use it with their partner. So the protocols are much different for pumping for erectile dysfunction. I still recommend a gauge, again, because, you might not know your pain tolerance, and you can go really hard, and it's not recommended or needed to pull the blood into the penis. You don't need a lot of pressure. That's the thing. So for pumping for ED, you really just, so what you do to start, you've got a cylinder, you got a rimless cylinder, right? Because for ED, you want a rimless cylinder. I sell thick-walled cylinders. This is a thin wall, but I sell thick-walled, they're called thick-walled cylinders, and they're primarily for erectile dysfunction. So the idea is, get your cylinder, comes with a 3-pack of restriction rings. You put one of the restriction rings onto the cylinder before you start pumping. You put it on right there at the base. You put it on, you do your thing, you get to your desired erection level. There is no time. There is no pressure level. It's about you knowing, okay, there he is, seeing his erection level and being like, yep, that's him right there. Once you get the desired erection level, you just slip that ring on. You stay pressurized in the cylinder. Some guys, when they lose pressure quick with ED, they lose their erection right away. So I recommend they stay pressurized in the cylinder, get the ring on, then depressurize or take the cylinder off. Depending on the tightness of the restriction ring, blood flow will stay or not. If it doesn't, wear the tighter ring. And that's another thing about ED and wearing restriction rings. Sometimes it's hard to find that right ring that fits. But for ED, that's it. You get to that erection level, put on the ring, do your thing.
So that's for short term. How about long term? Because I recently listened to the Uberman podcast, and they mentioned this a little bit for people with ED, and mostly for people that experience Post-Finasteride syndrome, which is very common. They're experiencing more ED, and they're looking to solve the issue long term. And in the Uberman podcast, surprisingly, they mentioned pumping helping because you create more blood flow. But do you have any feedback or any insights of how long would it take to start seeing results in improving ED when it comes to pumping, and how often they should do it?
Yeah, weeks. I've heard from guys weeks after they started their routine, they got healthier erection. They felt like they were getting stronger ones. They still had to use a ring and all that, but they felt like the blood flow was better. A big part of it too is psychological. When you think about it, a big part of it, and that's another thing about my company and where I take pride in what I do. When these guys call me, I tell them this. I'm like, you're going to be okay, brother. But just remember, a lot of this is in your head too, and this will help and all that. And sometimes it is medical. There's a real medical. They had some prostate prostatectomy. They lost their. So there's a lot of issues why they might have been, but most of the time it's up here, and some things like that help. And weeks, basically, to answer your question quickly. After a few weeks, they'll start seeing improved blood flow and things like that. But depending on the severity of the ED and what's causing it, the underlying issue, is really what would determine whether their ED would be fixed, or not.
And how often do you think somebody that has not severe, like moderately severe ED and wants to improve, like how often do they have to pump?
Well, they're going to pump every time they're going to want to have sex, right? Definitely.
Okay.
When they do want to, I tell them to do my routine on my website. You know what I mean? Just regular every other day. I try 4 times a week, something like that. The routine on my website is a very baseline, basic routine, and this is something I allude to guys on the phone or guys that email me too. Everybody's different. You're going to find the routine that works best for you. You're going to find the pressure level that works best for you. You're going to find the times that work best for you. And that's really what's going to maximize your gains.
Okay. And is there a difference in routine or products when it comes to trying to improve girth versus length?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. Great question. Absolutely. When it comes to length, so guy calls me up or emails me and says, I just want to be longer. I don't want to be thicker at all. Absolutely. There's a special little protocol, and it's fill the cylinder as quick as you can protocol, basically. So, the idea, let's say.
Yeah, can you show us how the pumps works also?
Show you how pumping. I'm going to show you how pumping works in general.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Show me how.
You mean this? Oh, the tester. Okay. Gotcha.
We have to stay within the YouTube regulations.
So pumping's simple. Yeah, you just connect. Cylinder comes separate from a pump like this. You connect the male coupler that's on the pump to the female coupler that's on the cylinder. You're going to hear an audible click. There's the click. You're on, and you just go to town. So I have an inflatable dildo here that I use for testers for stores, and it works really well. It's got lubricant in it already. You want to be well lubed up. Remember that, folks. You want to be lubed up.
Any particular lube that you recommend? Is there any type that works better than others? Or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't. Silicone would work best because it's most viscous and, all that, but it's messy. It's hard to clean off. I always recommend a water base just because it's easy. Okay. It's easy to wash off. Some water bases are better than others. Some brands are better than others. The brand I sell on my site, it's just the brand I like. They don't give me any extra discounts or anything like that to just sell that brand. It's just one I've always used and liked. And there's so many out there. I'm not going to offer 10 different brands of lube, A lot of people have their own lube too. So pumping. That's it. See the water going up already and the pressure getting the cylinder.
So what are you on the pressure amount?
I'm already past 12, and I'm just pumping to get this dildo up.
Got it.
You're never going to pump this hard ever, and you're going to grow like this. But this is exaggerating, obviously, just to show you what happens. Okay. So there it goes. And then, let's say you're going too hard, and you're like, oh, whoa, I went too hard. There's a little pressure release valve right here, a little pin, and you just press it. Boom. And it releases there real quick. So that's it right there. That's it. That's what's going on with your weenus. Okay. It's straightforward, again. But most guys, honestly, 2 or 3 squeezes of this, and they get to their desired pressure level, And the great thing about this pump, I sell something called the Hush pump. It's an electric pump, and I love it because it's simple to use. But the great thing about this deluxe pump is that you can go real slow. You can pull a little bit of air out at a time. You can be really gentle with it. And that's important, especially when you're just starting off and you're just learning. You're just taking your time with it. Like, okay, does this feel good? Nope, it's starting to. So, but yeah, that's what's happening. And yeah, for ED protocol, we're talking about different protocols for different things.
For length versus girth.
Yeah. So for length, if a guy wanted a length protocol, he needs to fill the tube. So you think about it. If you fill the tube quickly, tissue only has one way to expand, vertically. So that's the simplest protocol for length expansion. Get a small diameter cylinder that you can fill up really quick so the tissues can expand vertically. If you're looking for girth and length, traditional round or elliptical cylinder. I make a unique oval shaped cylinder as well. Very unique, as you can see. It's not traditionally round. This is a good cylinder for guys who are in between sizes sometimes and can't really fit into one properly because they have extra space on the long side of the ellipse. I've heard from guys that they get girthier a little quicker using this too. I never experienced that, so it's hard for me to recommend that. But it makes sense, right? Anatomically, we're more shaped like this. We're not round. Our penises aren't round. And it pulls tissue sideways faster than vertically. So good cylinder, but it's either or for length. If you're looking, now, I make a mushroom head cylinder that targets the glands. I make 2-stage cylinders. That's for penis and ball pumping. Those items are more pleasure, fetish. Okay. They're going to enlarge you. They're going to engorge your testicles. They're going to engorge your scrotum. But the gains, they're not natural looking. I'm not going to lie. There's something called ballooning where the tissues of your penis get very puffy. And if you do that a lot on those 2 stages, over time, it's going to stay like that. So you want to be careful, but it feels great. And a lot of guys like to pump like that. And at the end of the day, what I like to say is to each their own. You know what I mean? It's a big motto I learned from coming from stockroom. They sold bondage goods and stuff like that. And it's like, let people have fun.
Whatever pleases you, do it.
Yeah, the big motto for them was safe, sane, consensual fun. And I loved that. And it's so true. That. Right? And that's my motto for here. I mean, we make a rosebud cylinder that goes up the butt. I make very unique stuff. People love it. It brings pleasure to people, and that makes me happy.
That's good. I have questions that came into my mind, and I'm sure you touched on to it, but for people who are going to see only this video, how do you choose your cylinder size?
Cylinder size? Well, you start by getting your erect measurements. Alluding to ED, I know that's hard to do for some guys. So I always tell you to do your best. You know what I mean? But basically, you want to be erect. You get a string, wrap it around your penis, mark it where it crosses, put it down on a ruler. There's your circumference. You convert that circumference to diameter. You look at my chart, and you pick the cylinder size if it corresponds with a good diameter on my chart. If you're on the tail end of the recommendation of a number, I always recommend going up. Okay. Things like that. And sometimes customers will reach out. But on the cylinder sizing page, I note all this stuff. Guys just don't read.
That's why we're making videos, because people don't read these days.
For you guys.
That's why. I know. And there are I even saw that some people are not watching the whole videos because I get questions. I mean, I receive the emails. The questions are not for me particularly, obviously. Yeah. But I swear the amount of questions, I'm like, did you watch? It's right there. It says right here. But no, they want to the information very fast.
And on my website too, I have a lot of product videos, and I want to create more, actually, in all honesty, and make more, because they are very helpful. This really, this is a big thing about the internet that has been so helpful, especially with sales of products. And, you talked about affiliates and finding ethical people to do business with. I've had a few misses, I'm not going to lie. You know what I mean? When I first started this, there's a few people that I probably would not have done affiliate work with. But at the end of the day, I am running a business and I'm trying to generate more revenue. But I'm a lot more picky now, a lot more picky. Because you do this, what Leif did, what you're doing here, you're representing my brand. You know what I mean? You're not just making a video to talk about it, to not just get clicks. You are a representative of LA Pump too. And if I don't find the right ones, that's dangerous to my brand. And I'm so honored and grateful that Laith reached out to me. Actually, I reached out to him. I never told you this story. A customer or a fan of his told me about his video.
Okay.
And then I saw it and I DM'd him and I said, dude, why are you talking about my pumps and not having an affiliate code? And then we spoke on the phone and he's, told him about my business. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, now that I know you're a small business and the kind of guy you are, I don't want to do an affiliate with you. It's like, I want you to keep all that money, Chris. I was like, no. I want you to have some of it too. We did the affiliate code and ever since then it's been great, but it is important to align yourself with people that know what they're talking about. And, there's been some people that have badmouthed Laith in his videos and that he didn't know what he was talking about or that it was outdated or antiquated.
People
the information
will always have their opinion on the internet. I learned that lesson hard.
There is a lot of information regarding enlargement and there is a lot of new techniques regarding enlargement.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean the old techniques or the old information is wrong per se. But everybody has an opinion and a lot of them could be right, could be wrong. With this kind of stuff, it's best to try out what works best for you. Personally, Again, I mentioned earlier, everybody's going to have their own special routine. And that's what it comes down to for pumping. You're going to find out what works best for you, what pressure levels work best for you.
So I know Leo touched base on that. And by the way, a side note, Leo always did that. Like he only wanted to be affiliate to product he believed in. And that's something I keep doing. And I want to keep the same ethics because I don't see it any other way anyway. But I want to mention about, did you try pumping while using Cialis or Viagra? By any chance, and do you have any customers or feedback on how to do that and if it worked better for some of the customers? Because it would make sense that it does, but I want to get your insights.
I have, not going to lie to you, I tried it for the first time this past weekend.
Oh, wow.
I got some generic Viagra in the mail, not for ED issues. We're talking about pumping. We're talking about stuff like this. I'm going to be open and honest. I have some premature ejaculation issues. And it was an issue for me. My girlfriend, she didn't seem to have a problem with it, but for me, it's like I wanted to spend more time in the bedroom with her, and I talked to my doctor and my urologist about it, and he said generic Viagra could help with that. I don't have ED. It gets pretty hard. Again, sorry to get too TMI with you. But it gets pretty hard. I don't have an issue there. But again, it's very sensitive. And this Friday, we're hanging out and, I took some pills. I told her I took them. And sometimes I pump with her in the bedroom with me. Sometimes I don't. And I did this time. So I don't know how it works because I just did it once for the first time this last weekend. I have heard customers that use them in conjunction with it. And I've heard they get better gains, because they are getting larger. They are getting erect as they can, with a drug, but they are getting erect, that full erection, and that pumping just increases that by, percentage. So not too many testimonials with its efficacy, but I have heard that it's done frequently with guys that do take that medicine. Okay. But I don't know. I can't give you any personal anecdotes yet.
I'm not sure.
Coincidentally, I just tried it. I was like, wow. How did she know?
Well, when you think about the science of it, it's like it actually increased blood flow in the area, which would make sense because pumping does it as well. So it should help, I think, getting faster results. But again, I cannot test it or try it, so I will rely on comments and what was the forum? Thunderstorm forum? There you go. Thunder's Place. Here we go. Almost. By the way, I'm on my day 4 of water fasting. So my brain is like very foggy. I do like a 5-day water fast every quarter. And yeah, I'm usually I have a lot of brain fog by day 4. But I've been trying new things. So I've been using this NeuroSim, which helps like stimulate and regulate my nervous system. And my
Told me
fast has
about that. It's
been,
going great, right?
yeah, I have almost no brain fog. I have some of it. That's why I'm being confused left and right, but it's much less than I used to experience. So just a side note, that's
If
why I'm
she
a bit
passes out on our
strange.
video right now, don't freak out. I'll keep the video going if she passes out on us, okay?
I never pass out. I take all my supplements like magnesium, zinc, and like I have to take some
That's
salt pill to
awesome.
keep my electrolytes, but I always do it. It's like a reset for your body, and you have so much like
Been
more
wanting to do
mental
a research.
clarity. The what?
I think I'm gonna start with 3 days. I've been wanting to do a water
You
fast recently.
should start with 3 days and then
Yeah.
see how you do. But keep in mind, past 3 days we stop producing ghrelin, so you don't feel hunger after that. And so past the 5 day, I did it 13 days once, and after 5 days it's just easy. But it's just hard socially, but mentally and physically after 5 days it's easy.
That is great. Very cool.
But you really feel the benefits. And anyway, we're not going to talk about fasting right now. But that's why my words and I'm a little bit like weird.
Good. You're good, girl. You're doing great.
Thank you. But I want to talk about the safety because do you have any tips in terms of how to pump safely and maybe mention of who shouldn't be pumping if anybody like with certain condition? Just like some caution that people should have, because we have also an audience that's often a bit young, and I see the comment, they're like, I'm 17, I'm trying to do this. And I'm like, please guys, just and they will like try to go hard. I think you touched on base a little bit on it to try to go slowly, and it takes time to see results. But is there anything else that you think should be mentioned or people should know about?
I don't think anybody. I think what's the age for when men stop growing per se? I think it's 2021.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody under that should be pumping, because your body's still growing as a man different ways. So I wouldn't mess with that in any way. Other than that, people that shouldn't pump. I read something about blood thinners and pumping recently, and
that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall what it was, but usually when guys ask me these kinds of questions, I refer them to their urologist, because I'm like, I'm not a doctor, I don't know for sure. But the big thing, honestly, Lucy, the big thing is keep the pressure levels low. Start off real slow and low. Like, take your time with this. Like, over pumping, over pressurization long times isn't going to give you better gains. It's just going to lead to side effects, which is going to take longer because you're not going to be able to pump for a few weeks. You do get blistering, you do get burst capillaries, you do get bruising, you do get large amounts of edema. You're going to have to stop for a few days, if not a few weeks. So it's just going to add time. But if you take your time with it, you can avoid all those things. I never had any side effects. Every once in a while, I'd go hard. I'd go to like 6 or 7, on the pump gauge. Once in a while, like once a week for like 10 seconds and really hard just to, try to maximize it as best as I could. And, it worried me because, again, I felt pain. And I'm like, ow, I don't want to feel pain down there. So, I really can't say people that shouldn't use it. If you have concerns about it, talk to your doctor, at the end of the day, or go to these forums. Thunder's Place was another, great one you mentioned. Treasure trove of penile enlargement information on there for decades. Guys have been in there for a long time. A lot of different opinions. But as long as you're safe and careful and take your time with it, you'll be okay.
Is pressurizing the biggest mistake you see people doing with a pump?
Okay. Yeah, number one. I mean, when it comes to pumping in incorrectly, the biggest mistake I see is they can't get a good seal, ever. They have it on their, they have it on the base right there, and they can't find that seal. That's a hard thing to do sometimes. I always recommend putting a little bit of lubricant on the rim of the cylinder. If you're really hairy, shave if you don't mind, things like that. But technical biggest mistake, overpressurization or too much time in the tube. Some guys like, I did a session for 2 hours last night. Like, what? No. Now with a 2-stager, if you put your penis in balls and you're filling that up with water, fine. Some guys do wear those for an hour or two, and that's very low grade, expansion. And for that kind of purpose, it's okay. But for our purposes and what we're talking about, you don't need to do that.
Okay. What's the average time?
average 20.
That you need to do 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. But don't start with that. Start with 5, then go to 10. Then go to 15. Work your way up there. I always mention that when you're first starting, start with 5 or 10. See how it feels.
It's hard. I mean, when you get excited about something, you want to set yourself with high level. I just ordered my, I just got my Sadu board, which is like a nail board that you stepped on. And I used to do it before, and I was like, I put a timer for like 15 minutes. And then I step on it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna last 15 minutes.
Oh,
I lasted 5. I was like, my brain, I can't even meditate, control the pain, and step down. I know,
you're
like
walking on nails.
Yes.
You're drinking water for 5 days.
Yes.
What's next?
Oh, there are a lot. I have to rewire my whole brain and my nervous system to calm down. I have like years of stuff that accumulated that I'm trying to fix. And I know it affected my health. I'm the only parent to my daughter, so I want to be the healthiest human being I can ever be, as long as I can ever be. So now I'm science-based, doing everything I can, but I'm optimizing it in terms of how, like, because I don't have a lot of time either. So I have to be like doing everything optimally.
Yeah.
As much as I can. So I take like an hour in the morning. I wake up at 6 to 7 until she wakes up. And then at night, before I go to bed, I do an hour of like different things also, just to have this
awesome.
on top of, eating and cooking and anyway, a lot of things.
Great mama.
Thank you so much. But I don't have to pump, so that's not a problem.
That's always the time of that. Yeah, it's time consuming. That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
You have to be dedicated to it. Absolutely. Me now, doing it for a decade, I do it at this point for, I don't even want to say for like to maintain it, so to speak. I just like to do it now. It feels good. Again, I don't have ED issues personally, but I'm 43. Mm-hmm. I worry about it. I'm having regular sex now, which is great. So I don't have issues there, but if you don't lose it, you lose it, which is absolutely factual. And that's something, I'd like to talk about as well. I have a lot of older guys who call and say, I lost length, these last 20 years. I'm a widower, or, I haven't had sex for 20 years, and they lose length because a lot of times too, and I can attest to this personally. When you're depressed and you're suffering through depression and things like that, you're not getting natural erections, right? Like we get natural erections as men throughout the day.
Yeah.
And when you're going through things like that, you're not.
Well, stress will kill it.
It really will. And in 2020, I had a very stressful year. Separate from COVID, I got divorced that year, and I became a single father. I took full custody of the kids. I have 2 autistic children. So it hasn't been easy, and it wasn't easy, that whole transition. And that whole year, I didn't pump, obviously, right? And I didn't get it up. I didn't have sex. It was, it was bad. Come 2021, mid 2021, settled into my new place. The kids everything's going better. Things are semi back to normal. I'm in bed by myself one night, and I'm feeling good about myself. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna pump, and I take out my cylinder. Remember I told you I put line markers on my cylinder? It went down. It went down. I lost about 3/4 of an inch in a year. And I was like, holy shit, And I started pumping again. It came right back, which is great. And I think it was just a matter of getting back to that number I was at. But every time an older man would tell me that, I'd be like, yeah, I'm sure I believe you, and this and that, but I just never experienced it. And when I did personally, I was like, oh shit, like this happens. So now I'll pump maybe once or twice a week just to get that good blood flow going. But again, I'm having regular sex. So I'm getting regular erections, I don't, but, it's I just enjoyed to do it now. Just again, cause it feels good. One, and I don't want to lose anything, so to speak. I don't think I will. It's like riding a bike, you do something and it stays like that. And, when you stretch tissues, they're stretched. They are what they are. So, it's interesting why we lose that, but it was very eye-opening to experience it personally, to see it happen in 1 year.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I have a question that I think people might be interested in knowing, because it's about the psychology of pumping. You mentioned that you pump sometimes with your girlfriend. How do you approach a conversation with a woman of like, hey, I'm gonna pump. Like, I guess a lot of men probably feel awkward. I saw in different conversation how big men thinks their length and girth is to women, which I think they have a big misperceptions of how we view it. Or at least I'm talking about myself and my group of friends. We actually opened the conversation recently. I'm like, do you really care about this? And none of them did. So from my small sample, they didn't. But men feel a lot of pressure regarding their size, their performance, etc. And I can only imagine that it must be hard for any man to come to their girlfriend and be like, hey, by the way, I pump. I would like to pump before. How do you approach this conversation? What was your I mean, you did it with your girlfriend, right? So,
well, for me, it's easy. For me, it's easy. I
it's
call the
easier.
tough company.
Yeah. True.
So she knew what I did right away. But I mean, I get what you're saying. And again, being in the sexual wellness industry, I had a lot of toys to test as a buyer, and it was, I don't know. It was like, I mean, we're adults, and most people know about sex toys to begin with. Most women have a little clitoris toy, a little bullet or a little egg in their little night cabinet. You know what I mean? So most women know about vibrator toys before men do. It's tough. I'm not going to lie. For me, no shyness about it whatsoever. I'm at a dinner table. People are like, so what do you do for a living, Chris? I make pumps. Like I don't, like, I'm not shy about it at all. But I could understand the hesitancy of a guy, especially if he's doing it because he feels inferior. You know what I mean? If he's doing it for ED, it's not a thing about he feels too small or something like that. And he should tell his wife. Most of the time, these guys that call me or email me that have ED, their partner knows. And I always commend them for that. And I'm like, dude, have her do it for you. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, buy her a clitoris cylinder when you're done with this. Give this a shot. Pump together, I think it's about your comfortability with your partner.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I see on some of these forums, guys say that they go pump in the bathroom 10 minutes before they go have sex. They're hiding it from their partner. And I feel bad for those guys because you shouldn't have to. You should be comfortable with your partner enough that you can be open about your sexual needs or things that are happening with you down there. I was so comfortable with my partner. I told her that. I go, Mama, I love you, and I wanna have more fun with you in bed, and this is happening. And she's like, you're so sweet. I'm having a great time, but I understand your concern. Whatever I can do to help is what she said.
Yeah.
Which is great, and that's what it's about. It's about being open and communicative about that.
I think it
and
could be a
mentioned,
great test for testing your relationship, actually. Telling your partner, and if she has a bad reaction or weird reaction or not open to it, she's probably not for you. Honestly.
You mentioned women don't really care about size.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy. I'm not going to lie. I got about 1.5 inches more in length over this decade. Okay, I'm about 6.5 inches erect. So you can imagine what I was before that. I've never been a large man. I'm pretty girthy, which I'm happy about, but I've never been a big, well-endowed man. When I started pumping here, it wasn't to become a big, well-endowed man. I'm 6.5. I'm still not big or well-endowed. It's above average for sure, but I know and I believe women don't care about that. If I met a girl who looked at it and went like, "Oh, honey, sorry, I can't deal with that," she's not for me then, right? It's as simple as that. Well, girl, you need a big boy, and nice to meet you.
Exactly.
It'd be that simple to me. But sadly, a lot of guys take it personal, and you shouldn't. And you should be happy with your body as much as you can be. And if you do want to, do things to it, cool. Right at the end of the day, but I'll give you an example. Yesterday, a guy called me and he wanted a 15-inch custom length cylinder. I make them, right? And I was like, I'm happy to make it for you, brother. Let me ask, because he's like, how long will it take? And I'm like, right now, Christmas, New Year's coming up. It's going to take me like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not going to lie to you. And he's like, oh, man. He's like, I was looking to grow pretty quick. And I was like, well, let me first tell you, you're not going to grow to 15 in 2 or 3 weeks to begin with. And I was like, wait a minute. Do you think you're going to get to 15 inches if you get a 15-inch cylinder? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to be honest with you and be real with you right now. Never. Like, no, that's not going to happen. And then I go, what are you erect right now, if you mind my asking? 8.5. Exactly.
I just wanted to double it.
Just dropped.
Just
exactly.
Like, what? In 3 weeks, I'm going to double my size.
8.5, this guy was already. And I go, brother, like, you are well endowed, okay? Now, with that said, if you don't feel comfortable with your body, I get it. Okay, if you want to grow some length, cool, I get it, and I'm happy to help you with that. You'll never get to 15 though. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. You might get to 10, but you won't get to 15. And I go, why do you want to do this? And he goes, to be honest with you, I started dating this woman, and she told me she needed bigger.
They're
And that's
not
when I
worth
told
it.
him what I
Let me
just
repeat
told
it for
you.
people in the back so everybody can listen. They're not the right partner if that's the case.
That's
Please.
what I told her. So it turned into like a little therapy session with the guy, because he was like, we started talking. He's like, hey, Chris, this is really cool that you're talking to me like this, brother. And I was like, because I want to be honest with you, and I just don't want to sell you something. You don't need me. I go, you don't need my products. You're good. I go, what I want you to do when we hang up is I want you to think about these things more, brother. And I want you to find a lady that's happy with 8.5. That's a big ass dick. That's what I told him. And he started cracking up, and he's like, oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I was like, you're good, dude. Don't call me back. I was like, don't, you're good. So
it's like he called you for a 15-inch cylinder, ready in 2
I'm
or
ready
3
to sell it, but no, I don't want to if you don't need it. And at the end of the day, I tell these guys that I'm not trying to sell you something if you don't need it. I want you to be happy, because I sleep well at night.
Yeah, that's why I love about you, the ethics of a business, and that's what everybody can look up to.
I've gone away a lot with big corporations too. People are surprised at my customer service. I have my cell number on my signature, and dudes at 9 p.m. are like, hey, does this fit right? And if it's a dick, I'm not going to respond. And I'll respond the next morning and say, we open at 9:30. But if it's a quick question, I'll respond to them right away, and I'll give them a quick answer.
Oh my God, you probably receive some crazy things. So I had a little bit of a question. I don't know if you're aware of this. So is there like penis pumping compared to any other penile enhancement techniques and things? Like how does it compare to it? And there's effectiveness and also safety.
I think it compares strongly. There's a lot of devices, not a lot, but there's a few devices out there. A lot of devices. There's a few devices out there. Some are American made, which is great, which I love, and they're very unique. I'm not going to say brand names here, but hanging, right? Traction type devices. They work. There's published data that shows they work. I've seen and heard on the forums of their efficacy, and they work in conjunction with pumping. They work.
Yeah, Leo mentioned that often.
Yeah, I'm all for them in all honesty. And, try to stick to brands that are made with quality. Again, US made primarily because, one, you're going to get that customer support. Two, you're going to know it's made with pride, and it's made well. And those are big values, especially, again, with my niche and what we do.
Yeah, because you want the product to last long for your customers. You don't want it to break it down. They're like, we
want it to work for our customers. They're buying it for a very specific reason, a very personal reason. And it's important that it works for them. And yeah, some of these traction devices absolutely work. The hanging devices work. I tried them personally when I was at Stockroom as the buyer, right? I tried all sorts of stuff. I hated it. Oh my God. It was so painful for me personally. Again, especially the traction ones. I mean, you're stretching this thing, and then you're holding them stretched like that for a while, like for a good while. So it's painful. It's painful, and I couldn't take it. And again, for me and my journey, and I was testing them just to sell them, frankly. And I was like, oh, I can't sell this. This is going to be painful. I didn't think about the long-term efficacy of it or whatever. But they do work. Absolutely factual. There's a hanging device made in the USA that the owner has his full log of increases throughout the years. So he shows it right there. Like, this is what I got with, hanging weights on my dick. And I know it sounds funny and weird, but it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good
it
marketing.
Works. Yeah, exactly. It works. It's just, again, for those types of devices too, you want to be careful. Any of these types of devices, you want to be careful. But no, in conjunction with or on their own, they're absolutely successful for penis enlargement.
Okay. Now I want to go over some of the questions I received, because I received a little bit of them. What are the most common misconceptions people have about penis pumps?
The biggest one is that it doesn't work, that it's fake, it's a scam, that it's temporary only. That is probably the main one, Lucy.
Okay.
And that's it. And anytime a guy emails me or calls, I give him this whole spiel, and then I tell them my biography of what I did, and I explain to them. I tell them my little story about how I wouldn't be able to do this if it didn't. You know what I mean? Things like that. And at the end, I don't have a big log. I'm not trying to create a pun. A log of data to show my growth over the years. It's just my personal, word and the success stories from my customers. But that's the biggest one. Every once in a while, I'll get a real dick out to be like, this shit's fake, right? Like, and he'll be rude about it. And it's like, why are you calling me and asking me that?
It's like those men that they have such a high ego. They want the information, but they don't know how to approach it. So they go through the route of like, let me try to get the information while being rude and mean. It's just.
And the really hard asses about it, what I tell them, I go, you know what? Don't buy from me. Go to Amazon, buy a cheap $20, $30 one, see how it feels, see that you're going to grow in it, and then when it breaks on you in 2 weeks, come back and get mine. I always tell them that. I go try a really cheap one, and then when it doesn't work after a few weeks, come and get the Rolls Royce. Because mine will work. But that's the biggest misconception, that it doesn't work. It does work, guys. You just got to put in the work. You got to take in you got to do the work, put in the effort. That's it.
So one of the most questions is like, really, how long does it take to start seeing a result with, let's say, pumping? We said like 4 times a week for like 10 to 20 minutes. I mean, you start lower with 5. We said 5 and then increase it. But if somebody consistently pump 4 times a week, when can they start seeing some results?
Again, everyone's different, right? And I'll always say that everyone's different, but a few months, minimum 4 to 6 months. Don't pump for a week and then measure it again, and you'll see, oh shit, it stayed. You know what I mean? Like that. But everybody's different. I'll tell you this, Lucy. I've been here, 13, 14 years now? Thousands of orders over the years, right? Two guys that told me this doesn't work. And we went over different routines. We went over different time frames, different pump. I sent them different cylinder sizes. We really tried to make it work, because the last thing I wanted to hear was that from anyone, right? 2 guys over the years. I refunded them their money after like a year. They were even shocked. They're like, you're giving me my money back? I'm like, dude, we tried everything. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I know this works and it just didn't for you, and sometimes it doesn't, but a few months, you should start seeing some permanent gains. Okay.
And can penile pumping have any impact on sexual stamina or pleasure beyond the effect on erectile function? Sorry.
Yeah, you're increasing blood flow, so it's heightening sensitivity. Absolutely. Pumping, pre-pumping prior to sex is a lot of fun, and I recommend you try it. It definitely heightens sensitivity. Yeah.
And do you have any recommended age so we mentioned not until you finish growing, but like any recommended age to start pumping after that?
Just after that, like I said, 2021, let your body do its thing. But after that, it's all age ranges. And surprisingly too, a lot of people think it's only older guys that buy my stuff.
No, I see the emails.
Very wide range of ages. Absolutely. I'm 43, I pump. 20-year-olds who, have some body dysmorphia issues, they pump, So age range is all over there. Older guys in their 80s, who just got a girlfriend after, a decade or two, and they want to start, get their penis back working. So yeah, all age ranges.
Okay. And is there anything you want to add? Because I think we talked about quite a bit. And I think we answered a lot of questions. I mean, I hope that we answered a lot of questions.
Yes. 1 hour, 1 minute and 59 seconds. No, I think this has been a great interview. I'm not going to lie to you. I was very nervous about it. I always get nervous about doing these things. I'm also going to be honest with you. This is probably the last one I'm ever going to do on YouTube for other brands or influencers. So you're going to get the last one. Your viewers are going to get the last interview, because I can't do these all the time for a bunch of different people. And I'm honored that it's going to be you, frankly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Did for your community what he's done for my community. He's a great man. I miss him, and I'm sorry how things turned out.
I know.
And he really cared about you. And I know when he moved, he immediately told me to send his payouts to you and your daughter. And when he told me that, I was like, man, you're a good fucking man in my heart. And I'm here for you. As long as you need me to be, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much, Chris.
If you ever need to test products personally, send you some stuff.
I'm far away from this time.
But yeah, I really don't have anything more to add. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Lucy, for giving me the opportunity. If you viewers have any questions, go to my website, email me directly. Don't bother Lucy with this stuff.
I will put, so on the description below, I will put the list of the product Chris recommend to start pumping and the link to it so you can see it. There is still the promo code, so you can get a discount with Leo's promo code. And like Chris mentioned, he has his phone number. So
if you email me, you're gonna have myself.
If you have a question, you can always message him on his website. I had many people mentioning that they were talking to you and how thankful they were for the advice. And thank you for the demo, because I know that's one of the things people were like, I understand your words, I cannot see how exactly this works. So at least now you have the visual. And if you want any scientific approach and more details, I will link the previous videos of Leo on the description as well.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.